Courtney Kennedy, daughter of Bobby Kennedy, the assassinated American Attorney General. The appeal court judges had heard new evidence from a former Surrey policeman as to how another officer had pointed a revolver into Paul Hill's cell nearly 20 years ago and pulled the trigger 2 or 3 times. The gun was unloaded. Northern Ireland's Chief Justice, Sir Brian Hutton, said that incident alone could have led Paul Hill to confess to a murder he hadn't committed. His conviction was quashed. Mr. Hill, accompanied by his daughter from a previous relationship, was sombre leaving the court.
I'm very relieved that this period of my life is over. I want to lead a normal life now. I've been in limbo for a long time. I didn't wait 17 years to be told that I was innocent of this. I always knew I was innocent of this. I think the whole Surrey debacle of Guildford and Woolwich and events in Guildford Police Station has never really been gotten at. I think that it's a travesty of justice as much for the victims as it was for the people who were put in prison for crimes they didn't commit.
By coincidence, at the very same time in the West Midlands, thoughts also turned to events 20 years ago and the Birmingham pub bombings of 1974. 6 men served nearly 17 years in prison after being wrongly convicted. Today, the Chief Constable of the West Midlands announced his force had had no success arresting the real culprits following the Birmingham Six's release.
We have done every possible thing that we can to bring the perpetrators of that crime to justice, and the conclusion that has been reached is the one that I don't need to read to you again, that there is insufficient evidence for proceedings to be taken.
For the families of those killed and injured at Birmingham, it was another day of anguish.
I feel really cheated. Not only that, it keeps bringing this back to the surface. It should stay. It's past. It should stay there. It shouldn't keep coming back.
Today's events aren't the end of the story for British justice. Sir John May, a High Court judge, has long been labouring over a judicial inquiry into the wrongful convictions at Guildford. While it has the same status as the much publicised Scott inquiry, the May inquiry seems to have been somewhat forgotten.
In the autumn of 1989, when the Guildford Four were released, a judicial inquiry was set up under a High Court judge, Sir John May, and the Home Secretary and the Attorney General came to the House of Commons, and words like urgent and immediate were used. And here we are 4.5 years later, and Sir John May hasn't reported yet. And what's more, he's held no hearings in public. He seems rather to have been headed off into the long grass.
4.5 years ago, Sir John May said, "I trust by the time I've reported that public confidence in the criminal justice system will have been restored." The Home Office told us tonight that his report isn't imminent. Over 3.5 years ago, when the Birmingham Six were released, the government set up a Royal Commission on the criminal justice system. It has reported, but critics say its recommendations have been largely ignored.
It seems to me the government has entirely disregarded the Royal Commission recommendations as a package and has simply gone down to the sort of local saloon bar of the Dog and Duck, opened the door, said, "What do you think, lads?" and written down a collection of prejudices in law and presented that to Parliament as the solution to the problems of the criminal justice system.
What do you mean a collection of prejudices?
Well, because the approach, the ethos behind the criminal justice bill is not that there's a problem in the system, not that innocent people can be sentenced to crimes they didn't commit, and that's something we need to correct. The presumption is that too many guilty people are getting off. We've got to correct that and give the police even more powers than they already possess.
In the name of justice, in the name of truth.
The name of British justice around the world is no longer what it was. The feature film based on the Guildford Four case has spread the message. Uncorroborated confessions are still accepted in courts in England and Wales, and the suspect's right to silence may soon be abolished. Legal reformers are dismayed, saying the Birmingham and Guildford miscarriages could well be repeated.
Well, it could happen again. None of the fundamental problems in the criminal justice system which led to the wrongful convictions have been tackled. None of the police officers responsible for helping secure those wrongful convictions, and none of the lawyers, none of the judges are involved, have suffered any penalty for the damage they've done to innocent people who served that time in prison. So it seems to me that clearly it could happen again, and probably is happening again as we speak.
Peter Marshall reporting. Well, I'm joined now by Lord Williams of Mostyn, Labour frontbench spokesman on legal affairs, and by Sir Ivan. Thought of miscarriages could still happen again.
Well, why do you say they could still happen again? There have been enormous changes since 1974 when that miscarriage took place. We've got a Crown Prosecution Service which is independent. We have a police complaints commission which is independent. We have tape-recorded interviews. We have DNA testing. We have electrostatic document analysis. We have better procedures in the courts. We have better training for the judges, better training for the barristers. There is a much slimmer chance of miscarriages of justice of that like happening again, although, of course, even the best human system cannot totally guarantee the possibility.
Would you agree that enough has been done to try to prevent this kind of thing ever happening again?
Certainly not. We need to look at what happened. All these headline miscarriages, or most of them, occurred because of misconduct in the police station. After Lord Runciman reported, which after all is nearly a year ago, July last year, 2 jobs should have been undertaken by the Home Office. Number 1, setting up at once, as a matter of urgency, an independent review body, still not set up, possibly may come about in 1995. And secondly, the right to silence in the police station should have been underlined. Unfortunately, in the Criminal Justice Bill, if it gets through the House of Lords, which I hope it won't, the right of silence in the police station will be taken away effectively.
Sir Ivan, what would be your response to those 2 points? First, the setting up of an independent review body.
Well, the government has said it will set up an independent review body. It's determined to do so. But the Runciman Royal
Commission... It will do so when it's got time, hasn't it? It'd rather put it on hold.
No, it's going to be as quickly as possible. And in fact, the consultation has gone out, and in 2 months, the organisations like Justice are going to have to come back with some detail. What happened was that Runciman reported in principle that this independent review body was necessary. The government accepted it in principle, but the details have got to be worked out. And it couldn't wait. It couldn't get into the Criminal Justice Bill. The Criminal Justice Bill, with all its provisions, had to go ahead without this. But as soon as it is possible for the government to set up a workable system, and it's all got to be devised, all of the details, it's got to go out to consultation, otherwise people will say we've acted without proper consultation. As soon as that's all been in place, we will have this independent review body, because it will be a very substantial protection against miscarriages of justice.
Would you accept that these things have got to take a bit of time?
Of course, but it's being discussed, to my certain knowledge, for at least 10 years. A very short bill could have gone through both Houses of Parliament, because there's all-party support for it. The details are perfectly straightforward and simple. What is lacking is the will to act, and I repeat, it is not likely to come into effect until 1995.